My name's Peter Sidwell. I've been a chef for 25 years now and I'm the founder of Simply Good Food TV. It's like the Netflix for food programming. Today you're in my development kitchen and film studio, which is where we create all our recipes, all our ideas for Simply Good Food TV. My food philosophy is very much ingredient-led cookery. I want that core ingredient at the very center of the recipe to be the star of the show. Everything else is supporting it. My favourite comfort food has to be a beautiful cheese and Marmite toastie. I love nothing more than beautiful crusty bread, toasted lashings of butter, Marmite, and then topped with like vintage or mature cheddar all melted, squashed together into a toastie. Love it. I can't wait to cook this one for you. A really lovely dish that I absolutely enjoy eating so much. Lovely flatbreads topped with feta and prunes, a little bit different there. Char-grilled leg of lamb steak with rosemary and garlic, and then a nice pickled cucumber and shallot salad with loads of fresh herbs. Big squeeze of lemon, it's gonna be beautiful. Right, okay, we're gonna make this beautiful feta and prune flatbread to go with our lamb steaks and our cucumber and pickled shallot salad. So first thing we need to do is make a good dough. Now, 500 grams of strong white bread making flour. I've actually got a baguette flour here, so it's gonna be nice and crusty. Okay, so 500 grams. And then I want a good heaped teaspoon of dried yeast. I'm gonna plonk that one side of the bowl there. Do a touch more. And then I want 10 grams of salt, so a really good heaped teaspoon of salt. And I put those at each side of the bowl and then I blend them together. If you put yeast and salt together, it doesn't like it. So blend it together. Just make sure that it's really evenly distributed. That's it. And then we're just going to make a well in the middle. So I've just got straight tap water. You do not need warm water to make bread. It's a myth, okay? We're going to add about 300 mils of water to 500 grams of flour. So that's kind of about the right ratio. But it's more about what it looks and feels like. Mix it together. Kind of use my hand like a claw motion and just roll my hand around the bowl. Look, you can see that. And you can see it starts to get a bit grainy. Add some more water, but just add a little bit at a time. You can always add in, it's really hard to take away. A little bit more. There we go. Look, you can see the dough comes together on your hand and your bowl is relatively clean. That's when you know the dough is ready to transfer and start kneading. Let's just hold it with one hand and push the dough away with the other. And we're just going to knead the dough. Just keep stretching. You don't need to add flour. What you need to do is develop the dough. So push the dough away and it'll tear straight away, but the more you knead it, the stretchier it'll become. So you're going to do this for about 5 minutes at least, until it becomes nice and stretchy. And when it does, and look, you can see the worktop, if I just push that flour to one side, look, the worktop is clean, okay? I haven't had to add any more flour. And look, it's starting to get stretchier. And you can see, if I sort of stretch it out a bit, it's now starting to look like a stretchy dough. More kneading, 5 minutes, and it'll be really elasticy. So I'm gonna pop this into a bowl, and we're gonna leave it to prove for a good hour. And it'll double up in size. Just leave it in the kitchen, it's fine. You don't need to put it in the airing cupboard. Until it's ready to cook. Okay. So here's a dough I made earlier. It's had a good hour to prove up and double in size. And straight away, you can smell that sort of bready, beery, fermented smell. It smells beautiful. Love it. So a little bit of flour on the worktop there. And then I'm going to grab a dough scraper. You don't have to use these, but I find them really handy to have in the kitchen. They're cheap and they're really easy. Just scrape the dough out and it should come out in one go. There we go. And then we're just going to knock the air out, okay? Just nice and gentle. You know, don't pummel this within an inch of its life. We're just going to knock the air out. Okay, that's it. So we're going to divide this into 5 portions. So we started with a 500 grams of flour. We're going to cut this down into at least 5 portions. So half there. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so
Really easy to make these, okay? Start with the shape you want to finish with, okay? So we are going to make a nice sort of flat pizza style flatbread. So we're just going to roll that till we get a nice ball and then just toss it in the flour and then using the back of my hand, I'm just going to press it down, turn it over, do the same again. And then I'm just going to run my fingers around the edge and just sort of press it down a bit. There we go, and then we'll get the rolling pin. So roll it and then turn. So roll the pizza base and then turn it. And that means you know it's not going to stick to the worktop. It's going to be nice and easy to move around. Flip it over if you need to. We want this about 1/2 centimetre thick. Okay. That's it. So you can see, look, it moves about really easy. There's no sort of peeling it off the worktop or anything like that. We've got it right so we can work with this, okay? Now, in here, I've got my oven on at 210 degrees and I've got it on the Circo roasting option, which means I've got high heat at the top and I've got fan as well, so this is perfect for bread making, particularly these flatbreads. Okay, I've got a pizza stone in here. It's been in for about 10 or 15 minutes, so it's nice and hot. And it's really important that it's hot. So we're going to fold our flatbread over in half, fold it in quarter, and then lift it, transfer it onto the stone, unfold it. That means you're not stretching it. What's going to happen is it's going to start to cook straight away, okay? But that's okay. Right, we're going to top it now. Lovely California prunes, really sweet and juicy. Just going to tear them up and spread them over the bread. So what we're going to get is this really beautiful kind of sweetness, but then we'll get the sourness from the feta, and then we'll get the herbs and the spices, and it will just work beautifully with everything else that we're making. There we go. Then I've got my feta cheese. So nice, sour, kind of, oh, beautiful. I love feta cheese. It works really, really well. And just break it up. Don't break it up really, really fine. It's quite nice to have some chunks, you know, and then some finer bits as well. And you put as much or as little on as you like. Okay, there we go. And you can hear straight away, there's little bits of cheese are falling off there. It's cooking straight away. So to give this that nice kind of aromatic flavour, I've got some nigella seeds. So these little black seeds here, they just give it a really wonderful kind of savoury note. So we'll just sprinkle those on. There we go. And then for a bit of crunch, I've got coriander seeds. So we'll add those as well. And then finally, I've got some olive oil in a spray. So I'm going to spray it round. And this is going to kind of just give it a silkiness and bring it all together so that it doesn't just feel like we've independently topped this. Everything's going to kind of work together. The oil is just going to kind of give it that lovely viscous texture. There we go. Right, that's going to go straight in the oven while we cook the lamb and make the salad. So carefully lift it up because this stone is hot. Straight in the oven. And then just to give it a final little oomph, I'm going to add some water into the bottom of the oven, okay? And that steam just kind of helps the bread just go whoosh. And that's a little tip that really helps with bread making at home. Okay, we're going to cook our lamb. So I've got a griddle pan here. It's on our induction hob and it's just been getting hot for about 10 minutes. There's no oil on it or anything like that. It's just hot and ready to cook. And if I again get a tiny little bit of water, it's ready. That is the kind of temperature that you need it to be. Okay. So we've got a leg of lamb. So firstly, I want some thyme, I want some rosemary, and I want some garlic. All good flavours that are going to work really well with lamb. So we'll just bundle it all together and just run your knife through. And when we say kind of let the knife do the work, when we're chopping, it's about running the knife through the ingredient, not an up and down kind of chopping motion. So you kind of roll it through. All these flavors just work beautifully together. So you don't need to worry about chopping them all separately. They're all going on the lamb anyway. That'll do. Okay, let's put that to one side. So I've got lamb. This is leg of lamb, but cut into steak. Okay, so we only need one for this. So there. And what I'm going to do is, because I want this to be nice and crispy and get a lovely caramelized skin, I'm actually going to pat it dry. Because if you pat it dry, that means when we put the oil and the herbs and the seasoning on, we're going to get a lovely caramelization. It's quite important to do that. See, that's nice and dry now on that side. So we'll add a touch of oil, both sides. And we'll just rub that in, and then that's going to help all these ingredients stick. Oh, smells amazing. We'll season this up, a little bit of salt, and then a little bit of cracked pepper as well. And just pat that on. We want it to stick to the lamb. And then onto the hot griddle. Lay it down away from you, and don't touch it. We're just going to leave that for about 3 minutes on that side. Turn it over, cook it for 3 minutes, rest. And it'll rest for about 3 or 4 minutes. And what happens is, at the moment, the meat's kind of tightened up because it's on a hot grill. And then we turn it over and it'll tighten a bit more. What we want the lamb to do is just relax when it comes off the grill. And then you get a really succulent, juicy piece of meat. So while the lamb is cooking, we're going to make this really lovely salad, okay? So I have got some shallots, nice and sweet, mild, perfect for this job. And what we're going to do is cut them long ways, and then we're just going to slice them up, okay? So again, use the knife in that kind of rolling motion. Curl your fingers up and use that as a guide. Take your time and just slice them up. If you haven't got shallots, you could use red onions, or you could use spring onions if you like. But white sort of Spanish onions, they're a bit harsh for this. All you will taste is onion if you do it with those. But this way you get that kind of nice, sweet, mild, oniony flavour. Flatbread's looking good. Okay, so all the shallots done there. I've got some raspberry vinegar here, so it's kind of nice and tangy, but it's got that sort of slight fruitiness to it as well. We'll drop that into the bowl. And this is going to kind of gently pickle the shallots. It's not going to be a big, heavy pickle. It's just a gentle kind of tang that's going to work really well with everything else. This whole kind of recipe is designed to work together, okay? Everything kind of complements one another. Get your hands in and scrunch the shallots. And what that'll do is force the vinegar into the shallots and kind of soften them a little, pickle them very, very gently, but not full on. Really give them a bit of a squeeze. Break those onions down a little bit. Let's turn this lamb over, so we'll have a little look. Perfect. So you can see there we've got lovely scorch marks on there, which means flavour because we dried the meat first. Got it onto the grill. So with our cucumber, cut it down the middle. Now, cucumbers are full of water, and we want rid of that water because we want full-on flavour, okay? So use a teaspoon and just push the seeds away because we don't want them. We want crunch and we want freshness. We don't want wet, sort of watery flavours. Just slice it on an angle, about 1/2 centimetre, okay? Okay, flatbread's ready. So what I'm going to do is just lift this out. Oh, this looks good. Let me just sit this on here. There we go. And you can see by putting water in the oven, it's allowed the crust to kind of pop up around the edges. It's a great way to bake. So cucumber into the shallots. Add the final one. And then into the bowl. This lamb has now had 3 minutes on each side. I'm just going to let it rest now. Okay, just while I finish everything off. and then it'll be beautiful and succulent. Back to our salad. We want some fresh mint. That's going to give it a real kind of fragrance. Let's put that there. And then parsley, really underused kind of herb. It gives a lovely freshness to it, and I think it works really well with this. So bundle the mint and the parsley together and just run your knife through nice and gently. Take your time. That's it. Lovely. And that's going to go straight into the salad. Final addition to this salad is I've got a beautiful single estate Greek olive oil. It's amazing. It's got a beautiful peppery kind of viney flavour. The vinegar that we've put in there to pickle the shallots with this is going to make a beautiful dressing. So good glug around the edges, and that together with all the mint and the cucumber is going to make for a really beautiful, fresh, vibrant salad. That's it, we're ready to plate up. So get myself a bowl. Just move that flatbread over. So make sure we get a really good mix of this salad so you get everything. Pop that in there. A little bit more. Smells amazing. So the lamb has just rested now. So what we're going to do is cut it. And if you have lots of people coming for dinner, do a whole leg. Roast it. Marinate it up with garlic and rosemary and thyme. Roast it, rest it, and do it exactly the same way. Because this is rested as well, it's lovely and succulent. And you do need to be quite careful with a leg steak, because if you overcook it, it will really dry out. If you undercook it, it's quite chewy. So just to get that point between the two is really, really important. There we go. Let's take our flatbread. I'm going to finish this. I've got some beautiful Greek basil here. It's lovely and sweet. It's kind of different to the traditional big basil leaves that you get in the supermarket. And it's lovely. It's kind of sweeter. It's really, if you can find it, I would really suggest buying it. It looks beautiful, smells amazing. Every time I buy it in the supermarket, the checkout person's go, oh, it smells amazing, I must buy one of those. So just a couple of chops, you don't need to do much. And we're going to sprinkle that onto the flatbread, like that. And I am actually going to add another little bit more oil. Because let's be honest, Greek food is all about the olive oil, you know? And then we'll cut that. Just as we would with a pizza, just chop it all up into wedges. And then serve a couple of those with that. There we go. That is my prune and feta flatbreads, char-grilled leg of lamb steak with a lovely pickled shallot and cucumber salad.